Hello everyone, welcome to the Bluebook Records. So, formatting of quotations. And this is rule 5.1. We first start with quotations of 50 or more words. In Microsoft Word, what we usually do is highlight the quoted material, and in the lower left corner of the window, it will tell you how many words are highlighted. So, 50 or more words. The quotation needs to be indented it's a left and right indentation. No quotation marks, but of course, if there's quotations within the block quote, then they appear as they do in the original. So in law review text, the footnote number should go right after the final punctuation of the quotation. If you're quoting something in the parenthetical in a footnote, then it doesn't need to be set off from the rest of the text. And you'll just enclose that quotation with quotation marks, and you don't indent it on either side. So, in terms of paragraph structure, we still indent the first line of each paragraph. But if the first word of the quoted passage is the first word of a paragraph, then we indent it. If you've omitted language, we don't indent the first paragraph. So, and then the use of ellipses, I would refer to Rule 5.1. When you're omitting language or omitting paragraphs in quoted language, those are usually replaced by 4 periods. If you're eliminating an entire paragraph. So now, quotations of 49 or fewer words. All you do is you enclose in quotations the material. You don't set it off left and right. The period comes on the inside of the quotation. And then the footnote number should immediately follow the closing quotation marks. So now, Rule 5.2, alterations within quotations. So when something needs to be changed from usually it's a lowercase to uppercase, but vice versa, we always enclose those alterations in brackets. The same also goes for entire words that are inserted into the material or substituted. If you've omitted letters, we indicate the omission with empty brackets. So say, for example, if you're quoting material and you don't need the plural form of a word, you can take off the S with empty brackets. Now, mistakes in the original. There's the Bluebook suggestion. Mistakes should be, of course, reflected in any quotations and followed by a bracket SIC, but otherwise you leave it how it is. There are other people who, or there are those who think that the sick designation is unnecessary. Just keep the mistake in the original. But for Bluebook purposes, we add that. So if there is anything changed in the citation, or changes in the citation, like an omission of a citation, or you're putting emphasis, then you need to indicate that at the end of the citation in parentheses. So, for example, emphasis added, something like that. Or if you're getting rid of a citation within quoted material, you bracket that and say citation omitted. Then, of course, if the emphasis is in original, Bluebook indicates that you do not indicate that that emphasis appears in the original. I've seen it the opposite way, where authors feel like it's important to say emphasis was in the original, it wasn't my emphasis. Now, internal quotation marks. This is, you're using material, so you're quoting it. You have your quotes on either side, but that material itself is also quoting material. So how do we handle that? If you're quoting the material that's quoted exactly how it's quoted, and I know we're getting into deeper layers of quoting material, but there's an example in section F, Romanet 1, where the original has a quotation, but what we want to use is that exact quotation. So we would just set it off by quotations. We wouldn't add the single quote in addition to the double quotes. But if the original has, what you want to use is material that has a other quoted material, we will take that quotation and change it to a single quote, single quotation mark. And then what you do is you'll alternate between single quotes and double quotes as necessary. So for example, if the original has a single quote, then you'll change that to a double quote. Then if it's a block quotation, we just insert the quotation. If there's quoted material, we will quote that material in block quotations the exact same way it is in the original. So now omissions. This is 5.3. So omissions of a word means you have to insert an ellipses. So this is 3 periods separated by spaces, and then set off by a space before and after the last period. Microsoft Word, usually if you put 3 periods without a set off by spaces, it will create a special symbol ellipses. That's not what the Bluebook calls for. So Bluebook says that ellipses shouldn't be used to begin a quotation, or used when words are being altered. Right, so you won't see quote ellipses and then the quoted material. And this is kind of in section paragraph A. So we're not omitting material before or after a quotation. Rather, we're not indicating omission of material coming before or after a quotation with an ellipses. But if something is happening within that quotation, that's when we need to set off, and something is being omitted, that's when we need to set off that omission with an ellipses. So when the beginning of a quoted sentence is being omitted, we don't use an ellipses, but we'll capitalize that letter with using a bracket, unless it's already capitalized. So when the middle of a quoted sentence is being omitted, then we insert an ellipses where that language is omitted. Again, period set off by spaces, space before, and a space after. Where the end of a quoted sentence is omitted, then we insert an ellipses between the last word being quoted and the final punctuation. So this may look like there are 4 periods. But if there's material after that period that's being eliminated, then we wouldn't add an ellipses in that situation. We would just have the period, that's all the material we want to use, and then we just set it off with a closing quote. So now if we're using language after the end of a quoted sentence, but there's material in between that's being deleted. So for example, we want to use one sentence. We don't need sentence 2, but we need maybe sentence 3 or another clause that follows. So we have a period for the first sentence, then we have ellipses, then we start with the second material that's being quoted. And we might have to add, if we're starting a new sentence, a bracket with a capital letter. So now there's this situation where the language both at the end and after the end of the sentence is being eliminated. Then we use only one ellipses to indicate both of the omissions. So, but then we'll have to add a period at the end. So we'll have a sentence going on, then we don't need the rest of that sentence. We will then add space, period, space, period, space, period, space, period. That's 4. And then we'll start the next material with a bracket, capital letter. When you're eliminating a footnote or citation, we add the phrase footnote omitted or citation omitted. And Bluebook indicates that we don't need to insert an ellipses for omitted footnote or citation. So, for example, you might want to quote a paragraph of a law review note, and as we know, law review notes, almost every sentence has a footnote number. We can take those out and just simply insert citation omitted or citations omitted. So that's Rule 5. Thanks, everybody. We will take a quick break and come back with Rule 6.